What other services are out there that are causing you guys concern?
In our database, we've got something like 155,000 sites and piracy destinations, and we rank them based on country and based on type of content. And there are numerous legion of really pretty large unlicensed film and piracy sites. What tends to happen is if they get blocked in a country, then they just open out to a multitude of different proxies and other ways that people can access them and mirrored sites. At MUSO, we have three products. We protect content and we measure content, with the data. Our data analytics product is called Discover, and we connect back to that audience as well. We monetize that audience essentially. And our view is that there's a huge opportunity in piracy for rights holders, from measuring it, from understanding it, from improving the way that they protect their content, from making sure that their anti-piracy strategies are as robust and strategic and tactically thought through as possible using data. But at the same time, understanding that someone's mum is going on there not to steal their content, but actually because they want their content. And the real value, I think, in piracy data is understanding why they're doing that and what we can do to convert them back into becoming a legal user. Yeah, that's the interesting thing for me. It's really about understanding who your customer is, if you're that VOD platform or that content owner, and understanding why they're not using your platform and what you can do to improve the offering and the experience, the user experience for that customer. Where we can help is identifying who that customer is, identifying who that lost customer is, who that pirate is, and finding ways to reach them. And ultimately, as long as the messaging is right and the pricing is right, then I think it's a primed pull for customer acquisition. What's fascinating for me personally, because this was always one of our visions of it, is that we're actually seeing people using it for content acquisition. So, for example, regional broadcasters are starting to use it to identify titles that are not available in their territory, but they're over-indexing significantly in piracy. And we're getting customer feedback and use cases where they're using our data to buy titles, putting them on their platforms, and having really good figures, really good viewing figures on their platforms because it was a hit they weren't aware of. Because the one thing that piracy data gives these broadcasters and these platforms is a egalitarian view of piracy insofar as everything's available. So you can use our platform to compare Netflix against Sky, or compare Amazon Prime against Disney, for example. I think there's 135,000 titles in our database, and you can understand what's popular in Spain that's not available, and therefore it makes obvious sense to, I really hate this expression, but it seems to resonate, to kind of play Moneyball with the data to be able to understand what to buy and why you're buying it, because piracy is just showing you audience demand. That's it. Up to COVID, and I'll sort of exclude COVID from this point forward, but longer theatrical releases up to that point definitely shown marked reduction in overall piracy. So, post-COVID, I think we'd have to analyze it carefully after things have got back to normal again to see if that's still the case. But up to COVID, then we could definitely show quite clearly in the data that the longer theatrical window you have, the less piracy you have on the title. What I wonder about, and again, this is anecdotally, is has people's view of the world changed post-COVID? Have they gone out and bought much bigger TVs and sound systems, and now they've got used to doing it in a different way from the comfort of their own home, which is why my slight caution on whether that's going to change or not.
What are the drivers behind this from a psychological business perspective, if we were to look at the criminal underworld?
That's a really great question. I think what's really interesting about that question is that definition between the person who's making the title available and the person who's consuming the title. We often say pirates, and we're referring to both of those sectors of people. But actually, there should be a definition between the pirates and the people that are watching content in an unlicensed manner. And so what we measure is the audience, the people that are accessing the content. Now, on the other side, I don't have data. We know of cases where it's linked to taking over computers to mine cryptocurrency. It's linked to advertising on websites, and certainly some of the advertisement numbers that websites get, they're making some significant money from advertisement revenues. So I think it's difficult to say how much of an organized criminal activity is going on with piracy. I'm sure it exists. I don't know, but I think certainly the motivation from many sides, if they're not, altruistic and sort of Pirate Bay about the whole thing, then I think there's an absolute commercial element to the pirate side, to the people that are disrupting streams and making them available. People want choice, and people who use piracy, they on the whole, I think they use it because they want to consume the content in the way they want to consume it. They don't want to wait. I was looking at a title the other day, and it was released in the US on the 26th of April, but it wasn't released anywhere else for another month. And piracy in that window was ridiculous, and in terms of ridiculously high. And so it's kind of because people don't want to wait. We're not in that old world anymore. We're in an instant world. We're in a world where everything's available at the click of a button. And I think that as an industry, we just need to understand our motivations behind doing things. And I think now COVID will give us the opportunity to go, actually, that didn't work. And our long in the tooth reasons for doing those things can actually change, because we've been empowered to do things differently. And so therefore, I think everything's on the table.
So what are your predictions for the future of film distribution over the next 5 years in light of the data and analysis you guys have done?
Probably nothing that hasn't been said before, but for the sake of the question, the rise of this digital consumption of VOD platforms and piracy and this way of consuming content at home or on our laptop or on our mobile phones is clearly, it's been expedited, in my opinion, and we're seeing that in piracy, and there's this willingness more to do it, whether it's piracy or the numbers that we're seeing with some of the subscription platforms. I think the economic shock of COVID may well have an impact on the growth of some of those platforms, some of the paying subscribers, and I suspect that being the case, that we'll see an increase on piracy, whether unwittingly or knowingly. It's difficult to imagine in many areas of life that it's going to go back to a kind of pre-pandemic way of the world. I do worry for cinemas. I do worry for that model for many reasons, not just because of whether people are confident enough to go back into the cinemas as they were before, or just simply whether the business model makes more sense for the distribution of movies to be straight to HD. So I do sort of worry for that industry, but we shall see. The positive side in my wheelhouse, talking about piracy, is the audience is so large and so willing to consume content that if the offering is good, if the acquisition is right, the opportunity to acquire customers, not just to VOD platforms, but actually culturally interesting customers. So you could go, you could go to a fairly wide brand advertisement perspective in some ways, because what you have in piracy is this large cultural platform that shows audience demand based on cultural titles and genres. So that is a really interesting and under-resourced area that people have not really been looking at. And so, from a MUSO perspective, we're very excited about the potential that we are unearthing with our data. And I think that embraced in the right way, it might be one of the most powerful tools in the fight against piracy in the last 20 years, because it's better to try and convert these people over to paid subscribers, to people that understand how and the right way to consume content, and to be able to target and strategically target our customer acquisition as well as our anti-piracy techniques using data. So I'm pretty excited, to be quite honest, about what we can bring to the industries over the next time period.
All right, well, Andy, that was great. Thank you. Lots of information there.